Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial on Java. Today's tutorial I'm going to talk about Java wrapper classes and then the autoboxing and unboxing. We know that Java has primitive data type such as int or float or double and so on. Now these primitive type do have a corresponding object type, and we write like this: int corresponding is integer, float corresponding is to float, and double corresponding is double. Okay, so we have to remember again that this is the primitive type and this is the object type. So there are some benefits to having a corresponding object type. We'll be looking into that, but at the same time let's look at that how we are converting from the primitive type to the object type, and from the object type going back to primitive type. So let's say we have a data type. We are going to have integer n1 equals, we are going to write integer dot value of 5. Okay, so this is one declaration, and the other declaration can be int n2 equals n1 dot int value. Okay, so you can see like there are two statements over here. The first statement is converting my primitive data type to a integer data type, okay, or the primitive data type is being converted to an object type, and over here we are converting back our primitive data type from the object data type. Okay, so we can write here primitive data type converted back from object data type. This is how we do. Okay, and this is the method int value. So there is a corresponding double value and float value for the respective object types. Now, and this one is converting a primitive type to an object type. Okay, now these are the methods that we talk about, the value of and then int value. And again, for the double there will be double dot value of, for the float there will be float dot value of. So again I'm saying that you have to call the respective object type and then the value of method for that. And then we have the toString method. So if we would like to print that as a string, we can just write n1 dot to string. Okay, so this is what about the wrapper classes. Now the boxing and autoboxing is another simple thing, that let's say we can just write like this: n1 equals 5. We know that this is a primitive data type, right? The 5 is what? It's an integer of int type, right? But when we are just writing like this, the compiler will automatically do what? Will automatically convert that to a object type which is of integer type. And then when we would like to convert it back, we can just write int n2 equals n1. Okay, so you know that this n1 is an object type, but this n2 is a primitive data type. But the compiler makes this easy for us so that we can convert the object type to the primitive type. Okay, so let's take an example and we can see more through the coding. Okay, so here I have written a class, and this is wrapper01, and I have two methods over here. One is the wrapper and the other one is the autoboxing. If you look at the wrapper class, you can see that I have a primitive data type of 5, which is I'm converting to the integer object type. Okay, and then I'm printing that through the toString method. Okay, and then I have a primitive data type of int n2, and what I'm doing is I'm converting it back from the object type to the primitive type, and I'm invoking the int n1.int value method, and then I'm printing it. Okay, so that's the wrapper class. We have just invoked the two of the methods of it. And then there is the autoboxing, and you can see that I have defined an integer type, and this is the reference, and this is the primitive type. So you can see that the primitive type is directly assigned to the object type. Okay, and the next thing is I am converting it back. So n1 is an object type, but I'm converting it back directly to the primitive type. Now this is an example of auto boxing, and this is an example of unboxing. Okay, and the best thing about autoboxing and unboxing is that let's say like you would like to have an array of type integer. Okay, and then whenever you're adding, you can see that I'm just adding 5 and 6. These are the primitive numbers. We know that the array list consists of the objects. So whenever I'm putting the 5 in it, it's converting it automatically to an object. And how it is doing that? So there is something going behind here, is that it is converting integer dot value of 5. So when it is doing autoboxing, it's automatically doing this step and we don't see it. Okay, so this is the good benefit of it, of the autoboxing. And then whenever we are reading the value, so let's say int list.getZero, so the getZero is going to give me what? The first object, and the first object is going to be this one, right? The 5. So it's coming as object integer, but you can see that this is automatically converted back to int type, okay, which is a primitive type. So this is an example of unboxing. Okay, and again behind the scene it's doing like this, and or it's doing, I can just say that int list dot get 0, okay, and dot in value. Okay, so what does it mean is that we have this object coming from the first object, which is just integer 5, and then I'm converting that back to int value. Okay, so this is an example of unboxing. Okay, so let me write it now, save it and run it. Run as Java application, and you can see that these 5s are coming from this one, the wrapper, and first one we have invoked the toString method. We converted a primitive type to an integer type, and we are printing that, and then we are converting it back from the object type to the primitive type and printing. So in both cases we are getting 5. Okay, and then if you look at the autoboxing thing, in the autoboxing I have made this autoboxing like direct conversion, and over here unboxing is again the direct conversion. Okay, and like you can see that this is being printed from here without any problem. All right, okay, so let me write here. Okay, and then you can see that we have created a list, and I have added the primitive types and automatically converted to the integer type, which is an autoboxing, and then I am converting back from the integer type to the primitive type, and which is an unboxing example. Okay, so let me run it again, and you can see that the output which one was desired. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.